And so he says, so statistically, one person in your graduating class is gonna be homeless. And I immediately went to, oh shit, it's gonna be me. And basically, if you boil it down, our pitch is, hey, you've never heard of us. We have no experience. We can't really prove to you what we're doing. We haven't booked any major campaigns with any major brands, and our only clients are my friends. Would you like us to manage you? The guy with the biggest channel at the table, probably 10 times the size of mine, someone asked him, what did you charge Nike for this campaign? And he tells them $15,000, which that's a lot of money.
Right.
But meanwhile, I charged $13,000 and his channel is 10 times the size of mine.
Wow.
Hey, this is Chaz and welcome to my world from my living room. Today we're going to talk to Tom Stefaniuk. We're going to talk about his early success on YouTube as a sneaker influencer, his transition to New York from Canada, his new company representing social media influencers and more. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to my world from my living room.
So today we are with my friend Tom Stefaniuk. If I'm saying that correctly, I got it perfect. Wow, amazing, amazing. So Tom has an amazing new company that he's gonna tell us all about. And we go back and we have a very unique way of how we met. So we're about to get into this right now. So, dude, it's been forever since
it has been.
Since I've seen you, and obviously before the pandemic too.
Before the pandemic.
And
the before times.
Yeah, the before times. And you were at an interesting transition in your career, your life, because I met you when you were doing some really cool stuff on YouTube. And I was like, I don't know why I was drawn to you. I think we started following each other, and then I started following. I'm like,
well, do you remember how we originally?
I don't. Okay. Remind me.
So I was standing outside of Joe's Pizza with some of my friends, and we all had cameras.
What's your friend's name? Starts with an A.
Ari.
Ari, yes.
And you came up to us and you're like, what are you guys shooting? What are you doing? And then that's how we connected, followed each other on Instagram.
That's right. Okay, so that's good. That's good. And from there, I reached out to you because I was like, I look in, I think we all are voyeurs into our stories and see who's watching us and that sort of thing. And you came up a lot and I'm like, Tom, what has he been up to? And then I'll sneak on your page from time to time and see what you're up to. But this most recent thing that I see that you've been doing for like 3.5 years.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Right. And I guess I missed a lot of that with the social media stuff and the pandemic and stuff. I've been grinding, doing my own thing, and you've been doing your thing. So we've kind of like, had some distance a little bit social media wise. So I thought you had gone back to Canada because that's where you're originally from.
That's where I'm originally from, born and raised.
Yeah, what part?
So it's Winnipeg. It's like right above Minneapolis.
Okay.
I don't even try and explain to people where it is anymore. No one knows where it is.
Right.
I just tell them right above Minneapolis.
Got it.
So.
Okay. So you moved here probably what, like 3 or 4 years ago?
Moved here just over 4 years ago, December 17th, 2019.
Because I remember you were moonlighting back and forth before you moved here.
Yeah, so the couple of years before I moved here, I was making YouTube videos full time.
Right.
And you don't really have anywhere to be when you're making YouTube videos. So I would just kind of go wherever I felt like being that week. And it got to the point where I was in New York probably once a month. And I made friends here already. And but me being Canadian, you can't just decide to move here. You need a visa.
So
when I got the idea of starting the company, that was a great opportunity to get a visa, be allowed to work here, grow the company here, and took it, and here we are.
Nice. So we're gonna get to the business first. But
absolutely. I
know a lot of people, if you guys are watching this, you probably have seen him, but you've not seen him in this capacity with his new business. Maybe. There's a certain niche, but this niche has gotten you in social media lore as one of those gods that are out there.
I don't know about that.
But I would venture to say that because I think the generation we're in right now, where it's all about metrics and it's all about, it's about numbers, about virality, that sort of thing. A lot of your content has gone viral, and that's in the sneaker space.
Yeah, in the sneaker space.
Right. So you're a recovering sneakerhead.
Yeah, that would be an understatement. I mean, so I got into making the videos when I was 16. I was in 11th grade.
Oh, wow.
And YouTube was still like a weird thing at that time. Like now I think everyone in high school, if they could be a full-time YouTuber, that's the dream.
Right.
But my friends and people in my class, they made fun of me for it. They're like, what is this kid doing making these videos? Like, what is the point of this?
Right.
Because at the time there wasn't a viable career.
Right.
So I started doing that. I love basketball. I think every teenager that loves basketball.
Well, you're tall, so what are you, 6'3"?
6'4".
4?
Yeah. So, naturally got into basketball, and if you love basketball and you're 16, you also love basketball sneakers, and it was just a natural evolution of that, and made videos of, shopping for shoes, reviewing shoes, going to sneaker lineups, you name it, anything to do with shoes for 7 years, and ended up with about 250, 300 pairs of shoes at one point.
Wow.
And we've been able to whittle that
insane.
down. Like you said, recovering sneaker addict. I bought my first pair of shoes all year in, I think, like December 15th, the only pair of sneakers I bought last year. So I'd consider that a successful recovery.
So how's that? You have withdrawals and stuff like that?
I wake up in cold sweats at night.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So, okay, so the sneakerhead thing that amassed you over 360,000, subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing for YouTube because that platform, but you also said that you had started since you were 16. So obviously, I think time, consistency, and content
absolutely
kind of really put that whole thing, created the success for that, which is amazing. For me, I wear sneakers. I enjoy a nice pair of sneakers here and there, and I like something that's a little bit different. I wouldn't call myself a sneakerhead, I wouldn't, but people respect my shoe game. My shoe game is out there,
Well, I like the little velvet loafers you have on today.
Oh, I'll show these. Yes. Shout out to Savas. Those are my peeps, based out of Nashville. But yeah. So content creation, I do the same thing. So I understand the grind that goes into that when you're making a product, but you've taken it a step further by having a lot of the sponsors, a lot of the brands and stuff reach out to you because they saw value in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I had, the monetization and actually those partnerships are very important. So now fast forward, now you're starting the company, Small Screen.
Yeah.
Now, given your success on YouTube and everything that you've been doing there, do you think that's parlayed into this as far as reaching out to some of those relationships or maybe parlaying that into finding your clients, right? So tell me more about Small Screen.
Yeah, so Small Screen, long story short, we're a influencer management company. We think of a record label or a sports agent. We do that type of service for influencers. So if you're a YouTuber, Instagrammer, TikToker, and you have a following and you're making money and you want to make more money and have professionals manage it, that's what we do. And the idea, it's definitely nothing new. There's other agencies doing similar things. But the idea of when I decided this is something I think I'd want to do, it happened in a Chili's in a Cleveland parking lot.
Are there still Chili's around?
There are still Chili's.
Really?
Yeah, in Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow.
March 2017, and I was there with a bunch of other YouTubers. And we'd all been reached out to by Nike. They wanted to promote their new Vapor Max shoes, which in 2017 were like the most popular thing.
I actually have a pair, yeah.
And so they were paying all of us to promote these shoes, and we were talking about, oh yeah, Nike reached out to me too, Nike reached out to me too. And the guy with the biggest channel at the table, probably 10 times the size of mine, someone asked him, what did you charge Nike for this campaign? And he tells them $15,000, which that's a lot of money.
Right.
But meanwhile, I had charged $13,000 and his channel is 10 times the size of mine.
Wow.
So that was the first initial light bulb of people don't know what they're doing. Like this is the Wild West. People don't know how much to charge. People don't know how to negotiate. People don't feel confident negotiating.
Right.
And I knew that there was a gap in the market there. So fast forward to 2020, 3 years later, I was kind of getting burnt out a little bit from YouTube. And also I tell all of our clients, it's not a 40-year career, right?
Sure.
You need to kind of treat it like a TV show. Like you have the weird outliers of The Simpsons, Grey's Anatomy, South Park that will go on for 20 plus years. But most TV shows, you get your 3 seasons, 6 seasons if you're lucky.
Right.
And then maybe you get some reruns, right? So you really need to make hay while the sun is shining in those core years where you're successful.
That's important.
And then set yourself up for something else.
Yeah.
And so me being aware of that, I thought this was the something else that I could set myself up for. So like you said, the connections that we have with brands, the first clients that we got, even today sometimes, like I think there is some built-in legitimacy for myself or my employees to be able to say, hey, this is a influencer management company started by a former creator.
Yeah.
We know what you're going through. We know the amount of work that you put into it.
Right.
We know exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And I think that uniquely positions us a little bit to
Absolutely.
be able to do it for them.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, if I was trying to become an influencer and stuff like that. And I'd like to have visibility. And I'd like to think that someone who's looking to represent me knows what I'm doing. Yeah. They've been in the trenches before.
Absolutely.
I'm not just some corporate suit that's reaching out to someone just to make money off of them.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I've been there. I know the grind. I know what it takes to go viral. I know what it takes to monetize. Mm-hmm. And for you to be able to pass that on, good on you. Because I mean, you're looking at people that are where you were.
Yeah.
And they're able to see they can go back if they really want to, before they go to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning. 2 and 3 in the morning. It's like, how did Tom do it? Like, oh wow, yeah, let's see. They have somewhat of a template. Mm-hmm. If they really wanted to. Obviously, you guys I'm sure, have installed the key components on allowing them to be as successful as they can. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's a business.
Absolutely.
So, when they make money, you make money. And it just, everyone is happy.
Exactly.
They're happy with their followers and their engagement, mm-hmm. and you're happy with the success of a client.
Yeah.
And I think it's a healthy relationship for sure. So now I see on Instagram, there's a lot of your, colleagues and things that I know that it's not a one-man army.
No, absolutely not.
So where did the first chip fall as far as that first person that you brought on board when you started to do this?
Absolutely. So I had had this idea for a few months and I was kind of toying around with it, but I was still making YouTube videos at the time. Mm-hmm. And to be 100% honest, I've always been more of an ideas guy than let me put my head down and grind something out for 12 hours straight type of guy. That's just not how my brain works. And so I knew I wanted to do this. I knew there was a ton of potential, but I knew I wasn't going to be the person to lay the initial groundwork of doing all of the monotonous work to get it going. So there's this guy who actually went to high school with my brother in Canada.
Oh, wow.
I had played basketball with for years. And I knew he was working in digital marketing, but more traditional paid ads, Google ads, Facebook ads. But he was young, really hardworking. And I approached him. I said, hey, here's my idea. Do you want to come work for me and do this?
Yeah.
And he was so delighted to do it. Like he was on board from day one.
Amazing.
To this day, his name's Owen. He's fantastic.
Shout out to Owen.
If you're a client of ours, you've no doubt spoken to him at some point. He's really incredible. And he's only 24 now. Started working for me when he was 21, and now he's running the full team of about 25 employees that we have. And,
amazing.
And making sure everything runs on time and all the clients are happy. Mm-hmm. So that was the first step is, bringing someone on that was really motivated, really capable to do it. And we were still kind of learning. Like I knew what it was like to be a creator.
Right.
But I never managed another creator. So thank God I had some great friends that were like, yes, you can manage me. And that was our first 5 or 6 clients.
Nice.
But after that, think about this, right? Like we tried to make it sound as good as possible, but we're emailing a creator who's never heard of us.
Right.
We have no reputation as an agency. Mm-hmm. And basically, if you boil it down, our pitch is, hey, you've never heard of us. We have no experience. We can't really prove to you what we're doing. We haven't booked any major campaigns with any major brands, and our only clients are my friends. Would you like us to manage you?
That's one hell of a sales pitch.
Yeah. So the first 9 months was tough to get clients. Like we were like slamming our head against a brick wall trying to get clients. But you get a few and you do a good job for a few and they tell their friends that you did a good job for them. It builds up and now we have just about 300 creators that we work with.
That's amazing. I just wanted to take this moment to thank each and every one of you all for joining me right here in my living room. I know it's a different format than your typical podcast, but this is something that felt really natural and organic for me to be able to share my most authentic self with you. The people who I've invited to my home are people that allow me to think a little bit differently, and they also inspire me. And I hope they do for you as well. So if you would, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment and a question. Till then, let's continue this conversation. And team building, I think, is really essential when it comes to creating, your brand and a business. Because here in New York, it's a different grind than maybe say Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I must say, speaking of the Canadian, connection, I feel like there is a large, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a large contingency of Canadians that are YouTubers. Is there a YouTube university in Canada? Because I swear, from Peter McKinnon to all these different YouTubers, everyone's Canadian.
There's a lot of Canadians.
And I'm like, I mean, is YouTube headquarters there? Like, why have you all gravitated to it? Why do you think that there's a huge Canadian contingency of YouTubers? Like a large majority.
That's a good question. Now, like Toronto's a huge city, right? I don't know if you've ever been, but
I've been, yeah.
It's just as big as, Chicago or LA in terms of how it feels. But outside of that, like you don't have the same creative opportunities as you would in America, I think. If you grow up where I grew up, if you grow up in, Alberta, you grow up in Quebec, it's not like you have you can't become the creative director for Nike, or you can't become the head photographer for Vogue. Like you're just not in a situation to do that. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I think you're still gonna have creative people no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And the internet is just a permissionless outlet if you wanna be creative, go be creative.
Right.
And you don't have another path to make that a career in a lot of smaller cities in Canada. So I think maybe that's why you'll see a lot of YouTubers come out of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how that all works within that ecosystem, because I think about here in New York, and we'll talk about your experience and your journey here in New York too. But here in New York, I mean, I don't know if that's to say that it is within the community, the Black community, white community, the YouTuber community, the photographer community, there's so many communities, right? But I know the general grind, what I've experienced here in New York, has always been everyone's on their own grind. So the team building aspect is like, what is gonna allow you to want to come and join my dream? What's gonna make you not necessarily forsake yours, but what's gonna make you buy in to mine?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm starting a podcast, I'm like, well, shoot, I think I gotta do it myself. I've got all the gear, I've got all the equipment. I just turned it on and just start talking. I didn't know I needed to enlist the help of a friend, a colleague, or somebody able to help by, hey man, I'm trying to record this podcast. Do you mind coming through and helping me do? Like, it's almost non-existent, because I think a lot of people are looking to brand themselves, and it's about a singular focus of themselves. So when I hear you talk about the way that you've assembled your team, it's inspiring, and I hope it's inspiring to a lot of the viewers.
It.
Yeah, because for someone to be selfless, to think of a bigger goal, I think that's the part of humanity I think we're kind of losing, in the efforts to be successful, whether it be the metrics on social media or whether it be, whatever it is. I think, that's the grassroots way. That's the best way.
I think a really important way to do that is make sure that everyone's incentive structures are aligned, right? Because you have a goal, I have a goal, my client has a goal, my employee has a goal. If all those things are aligned. So for us, if we book a client a deal, our client makes money, the talent manager who booked the deal gets a commission, the company makes money, everyone has the same incentive structure, right? So I think it's very easy to build a team and get everyone to buy in. If one person wins, all three people are winning.
Absolutely. I love that. So tell me about your New York experience. So you've been back and forth for a little bit because you've had to pretty much kind of like, stick your toe in New York and then go back, and then you got to play this whole game. So now you're here.
I'm here.
So tell me about that transition. Tell me about like how it worked. I don't know if to say business-wise or creatively. How was that transition from Canada to New York, and tell me the similarities or differences? Yeah,
honestly, best thing I ever did. I never thought about moving anywhere the first 21, 22 years of my life. Like, never crossed my head. Never thought I'd live anywhere else except for Winnipeg.
Right.
And I think I never really thought about it. It's not that I loved Winnipeg or disliked Winnipeg or anything. It just never crossed my mind. And when I started traveling a lot, around age 21, 22, 23, I was like, you know what? I think I might want to take a risk and try something else. So when I moved here in 2019, it became a way bigger risk than I thought it was actually going to be. I was originally going to move here with two of my other friends. They had always had a dream to live in New York. They wanted to do something big, and they both kind of chickened out within like 2 months of when I wanted to come. So it became, okay, I'm gonna come here with two of my great friends. This is gonna be an easier transition here to now I'm coming here by myself. So it was a change, because you go from, in Canada, I'm driving everywhere. We have a supermarket, you know, the size of a football field.
Right.
And just like everything is different in New York. It's smaller, it's more tight, it's more expensive, people are busier.
Absolutely.
Et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like, you know, I had, my first apartment here was a little studio apartment on West 81st. And what I was paying for that, you could have got a full house.
Oh yeah,
where I grew
oh my
up.
gosh. A full what?
A full house.
I had to get that Canadian house. I had to get the Canadian thing. Yeah.
So yeah, the transition was, I don't want to say jarring, but it was definitely, okay, this is different, right? In terms of, you know, me being Canadian, of course, there's a whole visa process. So you need to get an immigration lawyer. For me, I'm on it's called a foreign investment visa.
Oh, interesting.
So it's one of the least common visas. You need to start a company, invest money into the company, hire people. So it requires like an 80-page stack of paper.
Yikes.
And an in-person interview at a consulate where they basically like give you a job interview to see if they want to let you live in America.
Oh my God.
So that was a process. But we made it through.
Yeah.
And we're here and I love it. I mean, who knows where I'll be in 20 years, but right now I love being here. I love the energy and the people you can meet.
Yeah.
You know, how we met, right? You could just walk down the sidewalk and meet some random person you never thought you were gonna meet, and it turns out they're doing something really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the New York hustle. That's the New York grind. I mean, shoot, I mean, I thought the process of me getting my TSA credentials was something. I mean, I had like an interview, I had like all, you know, these steps and then everything. And so, yeah, just to know that how strenuous that process was to just be here.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I moved here to New York by myself too. So I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 10 years. And I was a big fish in a little pond because I was all this in Nashville.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was kind of in the center of all the social cool stuff and I was on the scene and that sort of thing. But I was like, I needed to challenge myself. There was a challenge that had to happen within myself to, you know, see past the left-handed compliments that kind of kept me there in my younger years where, you know, my ego was stroked at like 25, you know, 26. It was like, oh yeah, I'm something.
I totally agree with that.
You know? And then I was like, you know what? No, I need to challenge myself. I need to freaking go to the biggest city and the most challenging city because I was a singer, singing background vocals. I was writing songs. And I was like, you know what? I need to go to New York and challenge myself. And that for me was the best thing. Just like you said, you know, it was the best thing in your life.
Yeah.
I did a one-way ticket on, you know, Cinco de Mayo. I'll never forget it because I'm like in the airplane, I'm like waving down at all the drunk people for Cinco de Mayo. I'm like, I'm moving to New York and I never looked back. And I've just been stacking careers along the way.
You've had quite the eclectic path.
Yeah, so, you know, I've been here now 16 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think what you said about like getting that, you know, people pumping your tires too much, big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm most thankful for moving here. It's like, there's great people in Winnipeg, but it's a small city. It's a lot of, you know, working class jobs as well. And I think the people my age that I know that are doing something really impressive that have stayed there, it's gone to their head. And they're still good people, but it kind of limits your goals and your growth if you think you've already accomplished something really good. That's one of my favorite things about this city is I met this really cool guy in his late 50s, made a lot of money in the tech bubble, sold some websites. He's loaded. And we're sitting at lunch at this little patio. And he says, you know what I love about this city, Tom? I'm like, what do you love about this city, Dan? And he points up at this window and he says, you see that condo up there? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that just sold for $38 million last week.
Oh my gosh.
No matter what you're doing in this city, there's someone doing something bigger than you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that some people might view that as intimidating. I view that as like very motivating.
It's challenging.
Right? Yeah, there's always something more difficult to do, which I love.
Yeah. I mean, you keep upping the ante, you keep raising the stakes and whatever it is, I mean, whether it be in finance, real estate, you know, music, content creating, because I mean, wow, what is New York going to be the next hub of, aside from what stereotypically is around in movies and, you know, news and everything like that? Like, what are we known for, if not the people who creates the thread?
Yeah.
You know, people like yourself who comes from Canada, people like me who comes from Nashville. And there's people that have their own stories when they move to New York. And, you know, you bringing your energy here, you creating a business that's sustaining for creators, because that's where we are now. You've tapped into the heart of where we are as a generation.
Yeah.
Because you were there first and you kind of were like, you've seen it all. Now
I've gotten very lucky with my timing of getting into this.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you were 16 when you needed to be 16. You were, you know, you've made that transition, and, you know, there had to have been something that kind of like an internal thing that kind of made you go, it's time to challenge myself.
Well, see, you say that. I don't even know if that's what it was. So this is gonna sound so weird in hindsight.
No,
and
it probably
it's
won't.
the most irrational thing ever. But in 12th grade, I did not like school. There was like some classes that I liked.
Who did?
But I wasn't engaged, I wasn't focused, and there was this class called Global Issues, which I actually really enjoyed. It was fun. The teacher was telling us though, he's like, about 1% of Canadians are gonna be homeless at some point in your life. And we had a graduating class of 96 people, small school.
Yeah.
And so he says, so statistically, one person in your graduating class is gonna be homeless. And I immediately went to, oh shit, it's gonna be me. And it was because
It's gonna be me.
I couldn't fathom how I could sit at a desk for 8 hours and do something.
Right.
So I just assumed that I wouldn't be able to get a job.
Right.
Which, like, you know, 17-year-old brains work in weird ways.
Sure.
But that was the first thing that my brain jumped to. So I don't even think it was so much I want to challenge myself. It was, I just kind of fell into it because there was a bunch of other things that I didn't want to do.
Right.
So I graduated high school, enrolled in business school, went for 3 weeks and dropped out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I wanted to pursue a career on YouTube, it's because I didn't want to be in business school.
Right. Right.
And as a result, I ended up with a career on YouTube because that's just what I happened to be doing at the time.
Right.
So it was very, you know, you can look back and attribute this, you know, I had a dream and I had a vision.
Yeah.
It just was kind of a bunch of things that I didn't want to do.
Right.
And this happened to be what was left over.
Yeah. I mean, and it led you here, and it's amazing how our paths crossed.
Absolutely.
To get to this point, to now where I'm like, hey, I'm doing a podcast. You mind popping by the apartment to shoot it with me? And here we are. So, man, I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
This is
Thank
fun.
you for having me.
This is a one take, y'all. This is a one take, because that's how we do it. We're just sitting and chopping it up on the couch. I mean, that's what we're doing here. So, but dude, Tom, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I look forward to more of what you're doing. Tell people how they can find you and your business.
Yeah, if you want to find me, I'm Tom Stefaniuk on Instagram, and business is Small Screen Marketing on Instagram, website, Twitter, wherever you want to find us. If you're a creator and need some help, feel free to reach out and we'd love to help you.
Absolutely. With that being said, this is Chaz once again. Have a wonderful day.